Jealousy. Are we familiar with that word? Well, it's something that I think most and almost all of us have experienced. It's one of the most painstaking, difficult experience that a person has. And I'm going to go through the reasons why and a little bit how we can cure it. But let me just tell you that Chazal already said, Mea mitot v'lo kina achat. It's better to die 100 times and not to be jealous one time. So we see already Chazal understood that this is an incredibly difficult midah to be able to live with. And if it's not cured, then a person will never really live his true life, as the Gemara, as the Mishnah already says, that it's one of the things that are motzim et adam mina olam. It takes a person out of this world. A person sees his co-worker, he sees his schoolmate, he sees his competitor, and he sees, I'm no less than this person. There's no reason why I am not as successful as this person. Suddenly you're working in the same company and he is put up on the ladder. He's given a higher position and not me. I just don't understand it. I've been here longer. I've worked harder. My capabilities are much better. What happens? It can't be. Suddenly the person starts feeling like a failure. He feels worthless, incapable. Doesn't make any sense. Why does he have more fans than I do? Why are people watching his stuff more than mine? Why is he getting more hits more than me? Why is he more successful? Why is his pocketbook much bigger than mine? I don't understand. The guy's known as a rich person. Everybody comes and knocks at his door. Nobody even comes to me because apparently I'm just not there. I just didn't make it. What's the reason for my failure? I can't find my chisronot, my things that I'm lacking any more than he is. It doesn't make any sense. This kind of feeling is not just a pain in Olam Haba, it's mamash a pain in Olam Hazeh. Because a person never ends up finding his place in this world. He's always busy looking over his shoulder. He always thinks that, maybe tomorrow I'll be able to overcome, and he never ends up finding any real satisfaction. And the worst part about it is that it's totally out of his control. I'll tell you why. Because he's not working on fixing himself, improving himself, getting himself in a better place or herself. He's more busy trying to focus on the other guy. Can I step back? Can I put him down? If he goes lower, if something happens to him, if he has some embarrassing moment, then that's just absolute breath of fresh air. It's a feeling of satisfaction. Baruch Hashem, now I see that he's on his way down. It's my turn to be able to take over. And every time you find out that he's successful, every time you find out someone throws a compliment, gives him a good word, and you're wondering why that good word wasn't thrown in your direction, it's like a punch in the gut. You suddenly feel that pain, those needles in your stomach, and it just doesn't make any sense. Why is this happening to me? I just don't get it. What do I need to do? What do I need to change? How do I do this? And the problem is it's completely out of your hands. Because in as much as I'm busy focusing on someone else, everything depends on him and not on myself anymore. It completely depends on his success or his failures and not anymore on my own. That's a tremendous idea and a concept which, like I said, I think even from the best of us, we have gone through and we felt at this time period. Unfortunately, it can lead to isurim, or things that are incorrect, such as going ahead and speaking lashon hara tremendously about the person, or trying, in more extreme examples to try to get him to lose or not succeed, or to lose his success in some way or the other. Many times you'll speak about, he's really a misken, he's really a failure. People don't realize where he's up to. He has no family anyways. He's not really so matzliach. He's not as successful as people make him out to be. You should really see what the guy looks like behind doors. Nobody really knows who the person is, etc., etc. Because those types of comments put you more on a pedestal. It makes you feel better. But this is very important, and we have to remember that is nothing more than like taking an aspirin. It's nice and cures for the day. You could put on a Band-Aid, but it doesn't cure the wound. It doesn't take care of the problem. Just because I take a painkiller doesn't mean that suddenly I'm not sick anymore. That's exactly what it is. It's not a painkiller, because the next day or the next week when something does happen, woof, it's going to come right back again. That feeling will not be satiated. The whole entire concept is a fallacy. And as much as I'm looking over my shoulder and focusing on him, then the whole idea, it's an illusion. You think that you're actually satisfying yourself and you'll be able to step over, but it's like going to the end of the rainbow looking for that pot of gold. It's not really there. It looks like it's there. I'm trying to get closer. I'm almost there, but you're never going to get there. It's never going to happen. And that's what Chazal mean when they say someone who has jealousy, it's moitzi adamu olamo. It takes you out of your world. What does that mean? Because you're never in your own world. You're always in someone else's world. Your focus is always in someone else's courts. You're putting yourself in someone else's competition, and therefore you never are able to build yourself. You're never able to find your own talents, find your own capabilities. She's a great housewife. She's got a great family. Fine, I understand her kids are doing fantastic. What happened to mine? I just don't get it. Where did I go wrong? I tried my best. I thought I married okay. What's wrong with my husband? He's a lazy bum. She has such a successful guy. He's doing so well. These types of frustrations end up taking a person out of their own state of success, capabilities, where you're supposed to put your larakez, to put your focus, and to see what you can do. Instead of looking at someone else and taking yourself out of olamo, put yourself in your olam. Go into your own olam and see what you can do. How can I use it to improve myself? There is an idea in Chazal is kinat sofrim tarbe chokhmah, that when you look at someone else, it will go ahead and add to your chokhmah. And what that means is, instead of trying to step on the other person, I will use them as a manof, as a way of picking myself up. Oh, I see it can be done. I use that as a stepping stone to say, oh, it's doable, I can get there. As we know, in the 60s, there was someone who ran the 4-minute mile, and until then, nobody ever did it. But after he did it, there have been, since then, hundreds of people that were able to do it. Until then, it was an impossibility. Because once you are able to do it and see that it's possible, so I can get there also. I'm going to make sure to pull it off. And I'm going to do it in 3:52. You understand? That is the difference of what this is all about. Now I want to point out, and the one important idea, and this is very connected to our parsha, that we have to know that this is shayach to everyone. That's A. And B, how do we get to fixing this problem up? How do I know it's shayach even to the greatest of us? Because we know the focus of Parshat Tetzaveh is about a great man by the name of Aaron HaKohen. Ve'ata akrev alechet Aaron achicha ve'ed banav ito mitoch b'nei Yisrael, from within b'nei Yisrael lechanoi li. The man who was able to make shalom bayit within all of Klal Yisrael. The man who was an oy of Yisrael, the man that when he died, everybody was maspid him. They sat and cried for 30 days. The man and the women. Everybody appreciated his greatness. And that's why he was zocheh, we know, v'nasa Aaron et shemot b'nei Yisrael b'choshen ha'mishpat al libo uvevoar l'kodesh l'zichron l'ifnei Hashem tamid. He wore the Urim v'Tumim, that's the name of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, on his chest, with all the names of the Shvatim there. And we would go ahead, and whenever we needed a psak, whenever we needed to know what to do, we would speak to Aaron, and the Urim v'Tumim would light, and it would tell us what we need to be doing. And he was zochet to this. How is he zochet to this? And why was Aaron Cohen, from all people, zochet to this? The answer is, as we all know, that the pasuk says in Parshat Shemot, "V'ra'echa v'samech b'libo." When he saw Moshe Rabbeinu, he was so happy. He was in glee. Oh, my brother, I'm so happy to see you. And this is not just going and seeing your long-lost brother. This is your brother who's completely going to take over your position. Aaron HaKohen was the Gadol Hador. Aaron HaKohen was the Navi in Mitzrayim. He was the messenger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu the whole time that they were in Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu ran away until he was 80 years old, for a long period of time, over 60 years. He wasn't around. How do I know that Aaron HaKohen was the messenger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shlach na b'yad tishlach, send to the one that you always send with. He's the man, he's the Gadol Hador, he's the Navi, he's the king. Why me? Why are you going with me? Let's not forget, Aaron was the big brother. You ever look at your little brother and you look at this little cutesy kid and say, don't you dare step on my toes, buddy. You're not going to go ahead and be richer than me. I'm not going to let you be more successful than me. I'm the big brother. You can follow in my footsteps, but you're not going to get better than me. Aaron HaKohen saw all of this, and he was sameach beliboy. And listen to an incredible midrash. The Yalkut says, what does it mean, sameach beliboy? Beliboy yoter mi bepiv. In his heart more than in his mouth. Says the Magen Avram. In his Sefer Zayin Ranan, shesamach belibo. He was so happy in his heart that he couldn't even express it in his mouth. Have you ever been in such a state of glee? He had such a simcha to see his brother and the success of his brother. His brother's going to be the king. His brother's going to be the Gadol Hador in Torah, in Malchut, and everything. And at that stage, it could be even in the kahuna, he was meant to be the Kohen instead of Aaron Cohen. And he was so happy. He had no problem with it because he was understood that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon is all that matters. And if he's doing, and that's the Ratzon Hashem, I can't be, this is the most exciting thing to me. Ha'ikar, that Bnei Yisrael should be successful. Ha'ikar, that someone should be Marbitz Torah in Klal Yisrael. What difference does it make if it's me or someone else? I'm just happy to be that this is what's able to happen. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai over their darshans. Halev shesamech begdulat achiv, the heart that was so happy with the great bounty of his brother. Yilbash Urim v'Tumim. He deserves to wear the Urim v'Tumim. Why? Because he has such a love of his brother, and memela automatically a love for all of Klal Yisrael. He will wear Klal Yisrael on his chest. Klal Yisrael will be his amamano. This is what Chaim Shmulevitz writes in the Sichos Musar. He will be there because of his tremendous tov ayin. He saw each person for what he was. He saw each person for his talents. He saw each person. He was able to think in the head what makes each person tick in everyone else's head. How did he become a tov ayin u'yivarach? Why did he have the bracha of being a tov ayin, of having a good eye and seeing positive, and that everybody Pashat loved him because he loved everybody else? You know why? Because he understood every single person's individuality. What makes them excited? What's their individual personality? What makes them tick? What makes them happy or sad? Why are one couple acting one to the other in a certain way, in a certain phenomenon? And therefore, he was the best therapist in the world because he cared. Because he cared about each individual. He realized these are the banim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is Klal Yisrael, and everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, that's what I want. As long as he made his ratzon like the ratzon of Hashem, so that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted from him. And therefore, he had a tremendous, as we say, tov ayin. And this is the yisod, and with this we finish. When a person loves himself and appreciates that he is a ben to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he begins to love other people also as banim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He begins to understand that each individual person, just because I think in a certain way, doesn't mean that other people have to think in that way also. And if the successes of one person happens as opposed to someone else, it's well understood because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave each and every one of us our specific channel, what we're supposed to have. And he becomes a tov ayin tov. He has a good eye to each individual person because he knows that this is your mission, this is my accomplishment, and he realized that's fine. And because of that, Hashem gave him one of the biggest kavod that exists, to be the Kohen Gadol. There's nothing bigger than that. You understand? He received the present of being the biggest kavod because he wasn't looking to see who was the CEO. It didn't make a difference if I'm not there. And I understand he's there because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that's his position. And when a person has that type of attitude, that type of direction, then you should know you're on your way of success. Just to love another person, you pass by a house, as I saw once Victor Miller was passing by a house, and he said to him, Boker Tov, good morning. And the person walking with him said, the guy's not outside, he's in his house. He didn't even hear him say Boker Tov. He said, I'm giving him a bracha. Good morning. Why can't I give him a bracha? He has to hear me doing it. I see a mezuzah on the door. I have an appreciation that there's another Jew in the world, that there's another son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I love him because that's what I am. A person like that won't be jealous, and I'm not even talking about Olam Haba in this world. I'm talking about Olam Hazeh. He will have such a state of menuchas and nefesh. He will be so complacent in the place that he is. He will be so satisfied because no one else is stepping on his toes, because your toes are his and his is his. There's nowhere to think in someone else's direction. You'll be in Olamo and not be moitzi mi Olamo into someone else's Olam. You'll be focused on your world and no one else's. And really, 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 if you have this midah, you really have everything. Because you don't need to be chasing kavod only because someone else has it. You don't need to be chasing all that money only because someone else has it. We all know that's a fact. And most other of our yitzarim, to see who's more successful, how many views did I get, how many people are watching my WhatsApps, and all these types of ideas which people are always focusing on, right? So that would be the biggest change. I'll end with a quick story of a certain person who he grew up in a kibbutz, which was a very, as they say, a leftist kibbutz, which was very anti. And at the time, this was going back approximately 50 years ago, even more, there was a few Rabbanim, such as Rav Shabtai Yehuda Levitz and Rav Barzil and others, without any formal organizations that used to come to these kibbutzim and give Torah and try to be Mitorah people. And of course they got thrown out very often because these kibbutzim were very against. This boy was 14 years old and he was very marveled and interested by these persons' speeches. And he went and he kind of snuck out of the kibbutz in order to figure out what's this Torah thing? And he looked around, he jumped around from here to there until, believe it or not, he didn't live very far from Bnei Brak. He popped into, Rav Shach's house. He got into the Gadol Hador's house in Bnei Brak and Rav Shach, and he told him about his story, about what happened, and he built a very close and intimate relationship with the great Rav Shach. Rav Shach used to invite him every week to his Shabbat table, especially Suda Shlishit, and he set him up in a yeshiva, in a beginner's yeshiva, and he would keep tabs with him, and he would have a sikha with him once a week at least, and he would be totally in touch with the Gadol Hador. Incredible. Eventually, this person obviously built a family, and he was incredible. He became a big Talmud Chacham. He's a person who knows much of Shas Baal Peh by now. And someone one time asked him, he said, from all the Rabbanim, what happened that you get so excited and you get such a connection to Rav Shach? To be able to get such a connection was also difficult. He said, well, I'll tell you the truth. All the other Rabbanim that I went to, I always felt second class. They spoke to me with a half an ear, but they would speak to this person, speak to that person. Rav Shach was always invested. Someone would come in the door when I was sitting and talking to him and say, the Rav, you have a shir soon. Okay, thank you very much. And he would completely continue with me, completely invested in our conversation. Someone would come from the Knesset, from the parliament over here, and the Knesset come to say, the Rav, we have to make a decision. Okay, when I'm finished speaking to my Chashav Bachar over here, he would always give me this tremendous amount of Tov Ayin Hu Yivarech, an interest, an understanding into who I was. It made me feel like $1,000. I just felt so important around him, and as a result of that, I was totally connected to the vibes. That's the incredible idea of what we have to know. We have to give that special vibes to other people. We want it, give it to other people. And the more you give it to other people, the more you build your Tov Ayin and you look at the positive eye in other people and you try to give it to people, you should know you'll cure yourself from jealousy, from interest, from my own personal greed, if I could say, from looking to raising my covered positions. And instead of focusing on the downfall of other people, I'll be very busy building on my own successes, building who I am and being able to reach the potential that the great Aaron Cohen was able to do. Shabbat Shalom.